businesses. Action News reporter Lou Baxter has the story.
The National Weather Service said Erie received 2.8 inches of rain in a 6-hour period, most of it between 3 and 4 a.m. The heavy rains caused flash flooding throughout the area. Some utility services were disrupted. Highways were covered with water. Interchanges along I-90 had to be closed. Driving to work for some was difficult at best. For others, work was out of the question. They had to stay home and clean up flood damage. Lawrence Park seemed to be the hardest hit area.
We had a lot of debris underneath the bridge. We got the bridge plugged up, and as a result, we had water all over the road here. Not just here, but Main Street and south of Buffalo Road. We had several households with basements full of water, broken water, garage walls, just a lot of problems.
At the John Randall residence along East Lake Road, morning's dawn revealed a nightmare.
What was your first clue?
6 when I stepped out of bed and I was in water. Went in, pushed all the cellar windows in.
Did it really?
Yeah, come up the cellar steps. Flooded the whole house.
The entire basement was full of water, huh?
Yeah.
Rushing floodwaters along East Lake Road filled cars with mud and debris. For some, today was just a taste of disaster. But never in 41 years have Richard and Margaret Blunt of Lawrence Park ever had a water problem until today. Most residents have no insurance to cover damage like this, or like this at a home in Mill Creek, where floodwaters ripped apart a basement wall and tore shrubs from in front of the house. These pictures are being taken at 11 a.m. and as you can see here, the waters of 6 Mile Creek are still rolling through here pretty well, but nothing like they were several hours ago. As you can see, the heavy rains overnight washed away part of the bank holding up the parking lot of the Fireside Restaurant and Lounge here on Clark Road. This scene is typical of many area streams. When a branch of Walnut Creek overflowed its banks this morning, water poured into the Western Reserve Convalescent Home. 33 residents had to be evacuated. The dollar loss from the morning flood is going to be significant, and it's going to be some time before everything in these neighborhoods is back to normal. But if there's any good news in all of this, it's that no serious flood-related injuries were reported. Lou Baxter, Jet TV Action News.
The price. Hyle Richmond has the report.
For many Erieites who left for work early today, this will be a familiar scene. Slow going through flooded streets. This was East 38th near McClellan's at 7:45 a.m. Call it wet but passable. Not so in Lawrence Park, where 4 Mile Creek was a boiling, churning, raging torrent, and its victims were many. Shortly before 8 a.m., Wesleyville Fire Chief Brian Sanderson closed water streets on the east side of the General Electric plant, and for good reason.
When we arrived, the viaduct between the GE test tracks and the Penn Central, the creek had backed up and was coming right up over the cement wall. And at the present time, it seems to be receding, but it's still quite deep, and there's no traffic on Water Street at all.
There was, according to Wesleyville police officer Barry Snyder, 4 to 5 feet of water under the railroad underpasses, and people in trouble.
It had gone over the bricks there. We had 2 cars stalled out underneath the bridge. There was a car with a man and a woman in it. They were beeping their horn, flashing their lights. There was another vehicle with a man on the roof yelling for help.
As darkness met dawn, the rain stopped, and so did the flash flooding, but the damage had been done. Here, where 4 Mile Creek climbed its bank near the Mindy Trailer Park in Wesleyville, residents were lucky. The high water mark, a trail of debris, shows the water never reached the trailers. But along East Lake Road and many side streets in Lawrence Park, there was no luck at all. At Sudan's restaurant, the water tore huge chunks of asphalt out of the restaurant parking lot, water that also flooded many neighboring cellars. The raging 4 Mile Creek water had to come to rest somewhere, and that somewhere was the Lawrence Park Golf Course. Fairways and greens were inundated, the force of the torrent slamming tree trunks and tree limbs against the golf course bridges that span the creek. But perhaps the saddest story was written in Harbor Creek's South Shore Village, where a tributary stream ran amok. Jim Gallagher of 189 Harbor Drive returned from 7 a.m. Mass to find 10 feet of water in his cellar. Fairfield Hose Company volunteers working overtime to pump the water out of many South Shore cellars. As Augie Alessi recalls, virtually every low-lying intersection in South Shore Village was inundated.
At a 7:15, I woke up my wife, and I told her if she wanted to get up. And she says, yes. So she got up and looked out the window. Oh, my gosh, she says, everything's flooded.
And so the cleanup began. Water and mud everywhere, in houses, on driveways, in cars. For many in the suburbs here on Erie's east side, today's experience a little hard to take, knowing they had no flood insurance. Heil Richmond, News Center 12.
In Kearsarge,
home on West 54th. Water in the basement rooms over the beds.
The water was gushing into these bedroom windows and into the back laundry room through those windows. We had 33 patients that we had to immediately evacuate in the basement area, the lower level. Took care of getting the patients out right away.
Chief Scully credits Western's evacuation plan and cooperation from Emergicare and Mill Creek and Metro hospitals for removing the residents. At the nearby Winchester Apartments, Mike Runninger says there was no warning of a flood that inundated his apartment.
I woke up around 5:30 and I just heard a gurgling, and I went out into my living room and the water was just rushing through my windows, through the walls, and just coming in everywhere. Before I knew it, I'd say within 10 minutes there was 3.5 feet.
Chief Scully says the township did work to deepen the creek behind this area after the last flooding a couple of years ago. What more can be done now is uncertain. Evan Lovett, News Center 12.
National Weather Service.